my fellow film junkies. It's Christmas time, allegedly, and we must have been some extra good boys and girls this year because the film gods have smiled upon us and presented us with an incredible gift. Our boys in black and white from across the pond have been cooking up something special for us in the form of a brand new color film they're calling Phoenix 200. It's been developed and manufactured by the same team behind Ilford's multitude of black and white films, and is being sold under the Harman brand name because of trademark ownership reasons. Harman describes Phoenix as a quirky, experimental, color-negative film with high contrast, strong visible grain, and plenty of analog character, whatever that means. Oh, and they spelled it with a U-E? Oh no. No. Not on my good, clean American YouTube channel. We fought a war for this, damn it. That's better. Now it's time to do what all sane people do. Attempt to capture valuable family memories on an experimental film stock that I've never used before. The journey home for Christmas 2023 started with a plane ride to Wisconsin and lunch with some friends who are now faithful subscribers to the YouTube channel, like you should be.
No, we're watching it very intently. Look at that yellow. Look at the...
I'm going to hold all my comments to the end, but be warned that these are probably the best two pictures on the roll, so lower your expectations. The next day, I was working from home and just hanging out with Dash. I did not know that this lens could flare like that. Wait, did I just hear J.J. Abrams moan? One of the downsides of working farther north than we used to right around the winter solstice is that the sun sets super early.
Alexa, what time is the sunset?
Sunset in Appleton will be at 4:17 p.m. today.
Crap.
I had to make quick work of the rapidly fading light, so I grabbed the Minolta and headed downtown in an attempt to capture some magic. But not before grabbing this while heading out the door. You may notice some slight frame overlap. Turns out the grinding I was feeling while cocking the shutter was it failing to advance the film in the cold weather. Just think of it like a really wide panorama. The next few days were pretty uneventful. It was more work for me and winter break for my sister. Really classic Christmas stuff. The 23rd was our family Christmas celebration, so I was sent out into the fog for some last-minute supplies. I decided to make Charles Dickens punch for the party, mainly because it involves fire. Two hefty thumbs up.
That's our I should be in choir instead of band. I don't think I could.
Family started to show up, and the usual tomfoolery ensued, fueled by spotted cow and Wisconsin old fashions.
I'll make sure to give it that.
That's gold.
Those are awesome. I'm actually going to use that.
Quick heads up, I didn't do any color correction to any of these images, just adjust the white balance to optimize the skin tones. That being said, yo, listen up, here's a story about a little guy that lives in a blue world. The next day was Christmas Eve, which meant another run for more food and also bacon. For many years, my neighborhood has put out luminaries on Christmas Eve. I was always told as a kid that it was to create a runway for Santa, but as I got older, I figured out that it has to be that someone in our neighborhood has a major stake in big paper bag or big candle. It's supposed to rotate through the families of the neighborhood every year who does the bulk of the work and organizing. So naturally, my family's been doing it for about 10 years now. Well, at least they're pretty, especially when a bag catches on fire. Low light performance? Never heard of her. Christmas morning, we awoke to news that NORAD had intercepted and subsequently shot down Santa's sleigh after failing to stop at a sobriety checkpoint over Colorado. They ended their statement with, "We can rebuild him. We have the technology." Thanks to my family for the great photography-related gifts. But the only picture I ended up taking was of Aaron settling in for the Christmas morning nap. The 26th was our last day in town, so we drove up to Green Bay to get lunch at Lambeau Field. Then it was back to Virginia, where I didn't touch the Minolta for almost a month, because I'm a bad photographer. You should run tours. Yeah, the Minolta's more of a summer camera. So now that we've finished the roll, let's talk about it. Number 1, the grain. Harman was not kidding around about the strong visible grain. Phoenix 200 really slaps you in the face with grain, and I am here for it. Why you like one film's grain structure over another is subjective and kind of hard to articulate, but I find the size and general structure of Phoenix's grain to be quite pleasing. Something about it just tickles my occipital lobe. It's unique in the way that if you zoom in, you can actually see individual clusters of dye clouds. It lends a really nice texture and color rendition to the film. Way to knock it out of the park, Harman. I know you're going to try and make the grain smaller as you develop and improve the process, but for the record, I really like this version. Number 2, the color. Like all color films, the color you get out of them is going to be highly dependent on where you develop it, how you develop it, and how you scan it. For full transparency, I get my film developed at Nice Film Club in Brooklyn, New York. Not a sponsor, but there's a referral code in the description. And then I scan it myself on a Sony a7R II and convert it with Negative Lab Pro in Lightroom Classic. Phoenix 200 is very clearly a daylight balanced film. Outdoor shots render accurately if leaning a little bit warm. I think if you take advantage of that and shoot during golden hour, the results are really nice. So because it's a daylight balanced film and it's already a little bit warm, when you take it inside, things tend to look like they're lit by a campfire. I've found that the auto cool setting in Negative Lab Pro tends to balance it out really nicely. But maybe you like your indoor shots orange. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. If you get your film scanned at a lab, they don't really know how to scan this film, despite Harman's best efforts. The theory is that these enterprise film scanners are expecting an orange film base to do their color inversion. The problem is that Phoenix 200 isn't like other films. It has a purple base. Now this isn't a problem when you're scanning at home, because you have to white balance the image to the film base anyways, but it can lead to wildly different results between lab scanning and home scanning. So if you can, I would highly recommend that you scan this film at home. But I really like the colors when it's scanned correctly. Number 3, dynamic range, or the lack thereof. The fall off on shadow detail is steep. Don't get me wrong, I usually like a nice fall off in the shadows to a sharp black point, but I wish there was just a little bit more information in the shadows. In the Grainy Days video about Phoenix 200, the Harman R&D engineers said that the measured ISO of Phoenix 200 was actually 123.5. I don't know about you, but my light meter does not have that setting, so I'll definitely be shooting future rolls at 125 or even 100 ISO. Highlights be damned. For the record, Harman says you can rate this film anywhere between 100 and 400 ISO, but underexpose at your own risk. Because of the limited dynamic range of this film, I think shooting it at Blue Hour would be a really great use of this film, and definitely something that I want to explore further. As an extension of dynamic range, let's talk briefly about long exposures on Phoenix 200. I'm sad to report that Phoenix is not a sleeper night photography film, at least based on my initial tests. Although it probably would have helped to actually read the datasheet and get the reciprocity factor instead of just kind of winging it like I normally do. So probably user error on my part because I'm a bad photographer who doesn't know his equipment. I may have to revisit this with future rolls. Also of note, underexposed areas lean heavily blue when you try to bring them up. Keep that in mind. And finally, everyone's favorite film artifact, halation. For the uninitiated, halation is the halo of light you see around bright objects in some films. It's caused by bright light reflecting off the back of the film and hitting the emulsion again, this time out of focus, completing a 1-2 punch.
1-2 punch! Remember, the 1-2 punch!
Since the red sensitive layer is the last in the emulsion stack, halations often take on a red glow as popularized by Cinestill 800T. You can see in this photo that the red and green lights are producing halations while the blue lights are not. Some of the blue lights are actually exhibiting a starburst effect, which is a lens artifact caused by diffraction at the aperture blades and not a result of the film. You can actually see both effects in this street light. It actually makes sense that both the red and green lights are exhibiting halations, as it explains Phoenix's distinctly orange and yellow halations. If you have red light and you progressively add more green, you'll get orange and eventually yellow. It's science! Color science! The presence of green halations actually allows us to infer that there's no red filter layer between the green and red sensitive emulsion layers. We know this because the green halations only form if green light can bounce off the back of the film, passing through the red sensitive layer twice before striking the green sensitive layer again. A red filter between these two layers would prevent this from happening. This is obviously speculative reverse engineering, and Harman is more than welcome to correct me in the comments, but I thought it was interesting that we could infer some structure of the film just by looking at pictures of a Christmas tree. So all that in mind, will I shoot Phoenix 200 again? Yeah, I think so, but it'll be in more focused applications. I want to take advantage of the warmth and grain to try out some more natural light portraits. I also want to use the punchy colors for some more blue hour work, as well as a more informed exploration of night photography on Phoenix. But outside of that, I don't think Phoenix 200 is going to be replacing my daily drivers for general purpose photography. But it was never really supposed to be a replacement for the Portra 400s or Kodak Golds of the world, and Harman tells you as much on the product page. It's got a particular look for specific applications, just like the rest of the Ilford lineup. This is Harman's first swing at color ever, and the fact that you can get great results in certain situations is a testament to the hard work that they've been doing in research and development. Modern corporate strategy is extremely risk averse, but then Harman rolls up to the function after 100 years of black and white mastery, shotguns a beer, smokes a cigarette, and says, "F it, we're gonna do color next." It's very commendable and deserves the respect of the entire film community. If you shoot film, I highly recommend you pick up a roll if you can find one. It's only available in 35 at the moment, and it'll set you back about $14 a roll, which is a little on the expensive side. But it's a limited edition run to help recoup some of the costs of the color startup process. All the sales of Phoenix 200 are going to go right back into research and development, so get in on the ground floor while you still can. I'm very excited to see what comes out of Harman's color division in the future. Maybe 120? I feel ridiculous in this. It's even got a little butt. Honk honk.